Welcome to another episode of Roger's Tech Talk. In this episode, we're going to talk about the LG C2 OLED 42-inch TV/monitor. So it's a new year. I wanted to upgrade my setup, and I wanted something not just an incrementally better, but a lot better. I honestly didn't want a 42-inch, but I wanted a full 4K display, something that was faster than 60 hertz, and this is what I could find. Going on Reddit and a lot of different reviews, the reviews were amazing overall. I was a little hesitant about burn-in, but I wanted to try it as my daily driver and see how it turns out. I'm going to be using this monitor for both daily productivity work, for my day job, and also gaming in the evening. Let's see what I thought.
So my current setup is made up of 4 separate 4K 32-inch monitors. 3 of them are LG. One of them is a ViewSonic that I think is basically the same panel, but overall I love this setup. As you can see on the left-hand side, 2 of the 32-inch monitors are set up in portrait mode, and this has been awesome for coding or opening up Word documents. But overall, really happy with the setup, just looking for something different.
Overall, I really like my setup, but it's a new year and I wanted to try something different. When I got these 34-inch monitors 3 years ago, it was a huge upgrade from the 24-inch 1080p monitors I originally had. But I wanted something with a faster refresh rate, something a little bit bigger, slightly better colors. So I decided to upgrade to the LG OLED C2 monitors. So it's significantly bigger. These are all 32-inch. The LG is 42. But let's see how it fits in this setup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this main monitor and replace it with the LG OLED and keep the rest of them. So let's see. So the Amazon Basic mount that I have only supports up to 25 pounds. The LG TV/monitor, whatever it is, weighs about 19 without the stand. So most likely it's gonna work, but it might be a little bit wobbly and might not be able to move it. So I did buy another mount, but I wanna try to see if it works with the Amazon Basics mount. First off though, the Amazon Basic mount only supports 100 by 100 and 75 by 75 VESA mount standards, which are standard for most monitors, but the LG OLED supports 300 by 200. So I had to buy this conversion kit to make it actually work. So hopefully I bought the right one. Let's take a look and see. So first off, I'm going to take my main monitor off the stand here and hopefully not break anything in the process and hook the LG OLED up and see if it works. Okay, so let's try putting this Vivo mount on. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to turn this 300 by 200 VESA standard into something that our desk mount can actually do. So it looks like we use, yep, it's matching up. So let's take out a screwdriver and set it up. So to install it, I'm going to be using my Linus Tech Tips screwdriver, which I love. I've been using for a lot of projects around the house. Since the screws are Phillips, works out great. So let's get this installed.
So I was able to successfully get the LG OLED mounted on my Amazon Basic arm, but I used the mount adapter totally wrong. So I should have read the instructions beforehand because you have to first put the adapter on the arm and then mount it to your TV or monitor afterwards. So after I did that, I was able to get it on, and as you can see, you know, it's a cool setup. It's a little weird just because the existing monitors are smaller, so they need to be a bit closer. So from far away, it looks like they're overlapping the LG OLED, but when you're sitting right in front of it, there's a clear field of view to the 42-inch.
So I've been with the monitor a few days and overall I love it, but there are some caveats to using this, which I sort of knew about reading reviews ahead of time, but I really didn't fully understand until I got it. So there's a few different mechanisms that the monitor takes to make sure that there isn't burn-in. One is auto brightness limiter and auto static brightness limiter. Now, reading a lot of forums and reviews, this didn't really click until I actually got the monitor itself. So first off is the ABL, the auto brightness limiter. That's something that you cannot disable. That's just inherent functionality of these organic LEDs. And you'll only notice it when you have a full screen of white. So I'll show you in a second here. It is a little distracting, but going to dark mode on your apps or websites, you're really not going to notice it, but it is sort of annoying. Next is the auto static brightness limiter. So that is something you can disable through the LG service menu. And you don't need the remote. That's an old requirement. You can actually use a free application to go into the service menu to disable it. So that auto static brightness limiter, that's basically if you have a screen and it will only dim parts of the screen based on the type of contents that's there. So that's something that can be annoying. I haven't experienced it because I turned auto static brightness limiter off from the very beginning, but I honestly wasn't sure of the difference between ABL and ABSL. So just for everybody to know, be sure I'll link to some websites that go for it a bit more in the description below. But be aware that if you want to have full whites on the screen, it's not going to happen.
So open up Microsoft Paint, make sure you have a fully white background. Don't make it full screen. Then make it full screen. You can see that we go from pure white to a little of a grayish. And this is because the OLED has to lower the brightness level down to maintain the proper power levels. This video is sponsored by TurboDocs. Are you tired of building documents or presentations for your business? Wouldn't it be great if there was something that could help automate building proposals, design documents, or even legal agreements? TurboDocs is a document and slide deck templating platform that can help you make documents in just a few clicks. What they do is break down the template into small building blocks that can be reused over and over again. This really gives you a great starting point to move quickly and efficiently. When it's all said and done, you can crank out a proposal or any other document in under a minute. This way you can focus on what you're doing best, building cool stuff, and leave the paperwork and presentations to TurboDocs.
I do have to say though, that compared to my current 32-inch LCDs, the colors on here are great, but it's not a huge difference. I mean, I can definitely notice the difference in terms of the responsiveness of the screen. It definitely seems a lot more fluid playing the only game I play, which is QuakeLive. But the colors, yeah, they are better than my current monitors, but it's really not night and day, honestly. So if you already have a good IPS or VA monitor, most likely you're not going to really notice the difference unless you're in a completely black room, dark room with no lights on, you're looking at black. The only caveat is if you have also, like we talked about, having a full white on the screen, it'll start dimming the entire screen. The only other thing that will get you here on this monitor is gray. So I started noticing the gray issues because a lot of applications that go into dark mode don't actually go to a pure black. They go to a sort of a gray color. The problem with these OLED monitors is they really can't, for some reason, have that lighter gray color when they're going to full black. So basically it starts looking like a dirty screen effect when you start getting to these darker grays and it's not pure black. So it's pretty annoying, and I've noticed it on code editors. I've noticed it on inside Microsoft Word. A lot of applications will go into dark mode. They'll really go into a dark gray. You'll start noticing this sort of dirty screen effect on the screen, and it's sort of annoying. Next, let's talk about settings. If you go on the Reddit forums, OLED Gaming, people swear by warm 50. To me, it's too yellowish. I just don't like it. I'm right now at warm 8 and everything's going great. I have my brightness around 80, which I don't know. I like things bright. It's still not as bright as my existing 32-inch monitors, but it's bright enough. So, to each his own, but warm 50, warm 20, it's too yellow tinty for me. Yeah, so I was wrong about the warm 8 thing. Warm 20 is my new favorite setting in the colors for the OG OLED, and I'm really happy with that. Sorry for offending everybody, but I think more than warm 20, it's getting a little yellowy, but I could definitely see why warm 8 was definitely not the best option. When it comes to the OLED care settings, I have a lot of them off. So picture care settings is set to off. I have OLED panel color. I do have screen move enabled, which is sort of annoying. I maximized my SSH PuTTY window last night when I was doing something, working on one of the computers, and I could notice that the logo was off the screen a bit. So it is something that's sort of annoying, but it's not the end of the world, honestly. Pixel cleaning, that's something that should happen automatically. And adjust logo brightness I have turned off just so parts of the screen don't dim. So I'm using some of the settings, but not all of them. And we'll see how it goes.
So by default, the LG monitor is not going to automatically turn on once you turn your computer on or it resumes from putting the monitor to sleep using normal Windows settings. There's two programs that can fix that though. One's called LG TV Companion, the other one's called Color Control. While LG Companion did work, I didn't have really good success with multiple monitors attached, ones that are of course not an LG monitor. Color Control actually did work great for me. I have it set to use Windows power settings, and it's using a Wake on LAN setting. So I have an Ethernet cord plugged into the monitor. It has an IP address on my network. It's actually running this application as a Windows service, which is great. I don't have to worry about it actively closing. Just want to make sure you do have Wake on LAN enabled though. Like I said, I have mine set up with a physical wire. This should also work on Wi-Fi also. So with this, you're basically just going to use your existing Windows power settings that you normally have set to make sure that monitors turn off after a certain period of time. So once you've set this application up, your LG TV's on your network, all you have to do is go into your Windows power settings and make sure that the monitors are set to go off after a certain time. Once you do this, if you have just the LG or multiple monitors, once you move your mouse or hit your keyboard, it'll.
So with my current setup right now, I actually have two NVIDIA 1050 Ti's. They're really old. I have a 4090 sitting in a box over there that I'm gonna hook up to this monitor and test it out. I've never actually played Quake 3, QuakeLive at 120 hertz or anything above 60, so I'm really excited to try that out. But with even the two graphics cards I have on here, even though the graphics card does have 3 ports, one of them is a DVI. So this monitor over here is actually, well, it's still physically here. I'm stealing the HDMI off of this to power this monitor for right now. But once I put my 4090 in, I'll be able to hook everything up. DisplayPort, 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 HDMI off a single card. So stay tuned for the next video to see how that works out, and either with this monitor or another one I get. Interestingly enough, the Amazon Basic arm does work. It's a little wobbly, but I don't know. It seems fine. Honestly, I just did it to start off with because I didn't feel like putting the new arm that I bought on the desk. If I do decide to keep the LG monitor, I will use the other monitor arm because it definitely is going to be a lot more sturdier. But it works. Am I going to keep the LG C2 42-inch OLED monitor? I'm not sure yet. Like I said, there are some downsides. The biggest ones are with the dark grays, like I mentioned earlier, looking a little bit dirty screen effect, dithered out. You cannot have a full screen of white up on the screen, and also start dimming and start looking a bit gray. So there are some of these downsides, and of course burn-in, not wanting to hide the Windows taskbar. You know, it's hard to say. What I am going to do is I do have another monitor that I'm looking at from LG, this 32-inch IPS 4K 144 hertz monitor, more traditional monitor. So I'm going to wait for that to come in, see how I like it, and make a decision based on that. Do I recommend this monitor? Yes, definitely. But if you have multiple monitors like me, using it as a big screen and using something as fancy zones, the power tools from Microsoft, it's not something that I'm really even thinking about. I'm just using it as one monitor, and I put my other windows on my other screens. So for me, having such a big screen, it's great, but it's honestly, I want something a bit smaller. So I just like the responsiveness of the screen, the colors, the deep blacks, but I don't know. We'll see. So I know everybody's on the C2 bandwagon. I am too. Honestly, if I had 1 or 2 screens, I think it would be perfect. But with having so many screens, it sort of just gets in the way a little bit.